Since 1752, the Whitney Plantation has gone through a series of evolutions. It began as an indigo plantation where at least 20 enslaved people from West Africa were forced to produce indigo dyes. The estate later grew into a massive sugar plantation with over 100 enslaved people working the fields and carrying out physically demanding work. Even after the Civil War, even after the Emancipation Proclamation, many former slaves remained on the same plantations. With no money, no land, and the threat of violence from their former enslavers, many former slaves had no choice but to stay as sharecroppers. These systems that entrenched deep poverty left many descendants of enslaved people with few options. At the Whitney Plantation, some black families labored on the land well into the 1950s and 60s. Today, the Whitney Plantation Museum is dedicated to telling the histories of the people who were enslaved there, to honoring the lives lost and the lives stolen. The museum honors the skill and culture of those who lived and labored and resisted against the systems that kept them from their true freedom. In the words of the executive director of the Whitney Plantation, the museum is, quote, in the long fight for justice, for truth, and for memory. Yet the Trump administration's focus on eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion from American life has been sweeping, targeting funding for government programs, for schools, for museums, for anything related to race, gender, or economic equality. The president threatened to cut funding for any school that maintained what he called discriminatory equity ideology. It's not even a thing. And his administration cut funding for multiple museums that focus on non-white American histories, particularly programs and museums that focus on Native American and Black history. Earlier this month, the Trump administration announced funding cuts to the Institute of Museum and Library Services that included 2 grants that were intended for the Whitney Plantation Museum. The agency said that the museum and the programs that the grants were meant to fund no longer aligned with the agency's priorities and did not serve the interest of the United States. Now, let's be very clear about something. Telling the full history of this country is absolutely in our best interest. And what is not in our interest is erasing Black American foundational history. Joining me now.
Man.
I know. For some of you that tuned in, Floyd didn't give us a heads up that he was playing it. We played an excerpt from MSNBC that kind of outlines and talks about the destruction of Black history, in other words, which, you know, is a segue into the topic of today, which is the whiteout, the erasing of Black history. It's an emotional topic for us because it's so much of an ingrained part of us. And what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is just super disturbing, because without Black people, there is no America. Without Black people, there is no American history. Without Black people, there is no land of the free, home of the brave. Our history has been stolen, has been tampered with, and now it's on the verge of being erased. And it's sickening to me, because how could any human feel that it's okay to erase the history of another?
That's what I don't get.
I mean,
I don't get it.
I understand it. When you are a threat to someone, and you are a threat to their existence,
Okay.
and when you're planning the demise and the destruction of a country, the last thing you want them to do is have access to their superpower. And for us, what our government is doing in the way of destroying it, that was me this time. What our government is doing in the way of destroying it doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and we really have a lot of influential leadership in the Black community. It's not only Black people that we have that are supporting us and that are standing by us in the fight.
Right.
It's other nationalities. It's
Right.
white people. It's Asian people. It's Mexican people. So I don't want this to be a conversation where we're pushing them to the side like they play no part in this. In order for us to take back what's rightfully ours, we're going to need help from other nationalities. Because just like there was Black slaves, there were Asian slaves, there were Mexican slaves. And we're still dealing with slavery. It's just gift wrapped differently.
Yeah.
I never have agreed with the slogan "Land of the Free, Home of the Brave," because there is no levels of freedom. It's just freedom. We enjoy freedom with stipulations. Stipulations like you're not allowed to be a free thinker. You're not allowed to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Everything about everything we do is controlled and manipulated. And we have this false sense of security that we are free, when that's the last thing we are.
So you're not able to get out there and talk about anybody. Like, let's say we want to talk about the president. Okay, so we're not able to go out there and voice our concerns, our opinions, or what we want to say.
You are more than welcome to get out and voice your opinion, as long as it doesn't stir up other people wanting to take your side and disagreements of what they're doing.
Well, that's the whole point.
Well, that's what it should be. We should be allowed to have our own opinions. We should be allowed to publicly speak against things like tyranny.
Okay.
We should be allowed to do that.
Protest.
But we're not.
You know.
They tell us that we're allowed to safely protest, but the stipulations with our protests are made by them. And as long as we follow their guidelines, then we're allowed to do that. But is that really freedom? That's not freedom.
No.
So we've enjoyed this fake facade of what freedom is, to the point to where a lot of us don't even know what freedom looks like.
Right.
And that's why I'm so adamant about going to other countries and experiencing what life is like abroad, because it really opens your eyes to how we're supposed to be living compared to how we are living.
Yeah.
When I go to Thailand, there's a level of freedom, there's a level of peace and serenity that I don't experience anywhere else. And I've been here 55 years of my life, and I've lived in 30 of the 50 states. I've been a cop. I've been in the military. I played professional sports. I've been in the public eye. I've been across every red carpet. I've been at every major event. The scenery might change. Nothing else changes. You have those same restrictions, no matter what level, no matter what economic level you are in your life. You may have access to more, but you're still restricted. And that's one of the things we wanted to talk about today, the wiping out of Black history. I think as we live out this life and we start to go through what we're going through, these are really tough times for a lot of people right now. And what they're starting to do is they're starting to rely on the teachings of the past. And there's not a lot of places where you have access to that. And in order for us to get where we're going, we've got to understand where we came from. And so that's what they're doing. They don't want us to buck against the system. They don't want us to know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for us to not know where we're going, they have to erase our future. Our history. Our history is the pathway to our future.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have that pathway open, they know that now we become more susceptible to fear, being led by fear.
There was a young lady, the education administration had sent out emails to all these schools, right? Different schools, different states. And one of the ladies that, one of the schools that had received that letter had read the letter and responded back and told them that, so basically, to boil it up, they was not going to sign that letter. Regardless when they said, if you don't sign the letter, you won't get funding, you won't get, and all that. But she said, well, I'd rather have my kids that are in special needs, the IEPs, the what, and all the other little programs that they have for kids that need the help. I rather we struggle to fight and get the money somewhere to help them. If you're not going to help us, we will find a way to help our kids that need help. And so basically, I'm like, you are a government that's supposed to be there for your people, but you want to take away what is helping these kids, regardless of what ethnicity they are. They need the help.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to take this away because you want to control it.
Yeah, that's what all of this is. This is controlling. And just to give you an idea of other things that they're doing is 18 states now have laws that restrict teachers from teaching Black history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, places like the Pentagon, the cultural Black history centers across America, they are shutting those down. The Pentagon is removing anything that is related to Black history, Black achievement. Any of the Black museums,
Mm-hmm.
monuments, they're destroying and closing down.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening.
Yeah.
History is repeating itself, and the reason why I say that is that a lot of people don't understand that Black Wall Street in Tulsa wasn't the only wealthy Black area. There was a lot of areas. One that we're probably, other than Black Wall Street, we're familiar with is Seneca Village.
Mm-hmm.
Seneca Village was a thriving Black community in New York, which now is Central Park.
Wow.
There's another place, it's at Oscarville. Oscarville was another thriving Black community. And a lot of people don't know that Lake Lanier now sits on top of that Black community.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Lake Lanier, what they did was they forced Black people out, and the people that they didn't force out, they killed. And then the government came in and flooded the city. And it became Lake Lanier.
Wow.
And so, and there's been countless deaths at Lake Lanier.
Okay, let me take that back. You said that it was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
So the government flooded.
Came in and flooded it.
Okay, so now I'm getting a connection here because out of a joke, he says that he wanted to go ahead because of all the fires that were going on in LA.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go ahead and flood California.
Yeah.
Wow.
History is repeating itself,
Wow.
man, and I employ everyone to wake up and understand that habit of routine, and we live our lives on a routine that we get up every day and everything is this and that. We have to become more vigilant about what's going on around us. People still don't understand how relationships are torn down because of who's in office now. And I said this before, it's like, I get it. You know, I get wanting change. I get thinking that the people that were currently in office was inadequate, you know, business wise, you know, because I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I thought I thought we were thriving.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever be perfect, but we were thriving.
Yeah, we were doing a lot better.
We were people of ethnicity, minorities. We were able to move around without the fear that we had when Trump was first in office.
Right.
That's my biggest thing, is like, I don't care about the politics of it. I don't care about Democrats and Republicans. That's just another way we figured out how to separate ourselves, because when you really look at it, they both have the same goals. They just go about doing it differently. The thing that concerned me is when Trump was first in office, how dangerous it was for people that looked like me in the streets.
Yeah.
So for me, Biden and Harris made it safe again. I don't care about gas prices, because if you really educate yourself and understand economics and how everything works, you understand that the president and who's in office don't control that.
No, they don't.
They don't control it. It kills me how many people that are just illiterate when it comes to, and don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm a scholar when it comes to economics, when it comes to politics. I'm not a scholar. But this stuff ain't hard to figure out. All you have to do is look at the history and how things work. And that's why I say we spend a lot of our time going through life in routine, just routinely doing things, and we don't stop to ask questions and try to figure out why.
Well, because you have to look at it. When you have people automatically saying that, okay, now that I'm talking about the government people, you have them saying that, okay, well, we can do the taxes, okay, we can do the sales tax, we can do there's no sales tax on gas. Okay, so that's supposed to drop it, right? But it doesn't really do anything. You're still having a high price, which you have to go to, what is that? Texacon or Texans, or I don't know the name of the gas company, but Texaco, right? So basically, when you were saying that we don't control they don't control the gas pricing, right? They don't. Texaco controls the gas pricing.
It's a game of Monopoly. It's a good game of Monopoly, and there's people that you don't see, that they don't talk about, that are really in control of everything. And that's companies like BlackRock and its subsidiaries, and all of these private industries behind the scenes that are controlling everything.
The billionaires.
And the people that are put in place are just pawns doing their bidding. And we don't get that. The thing that you should be concerned with most is the safety and security of not only yourself, but your kids, your family members, and just people in general.
But you got to look at it. You're dealing with people that don't even care about other, like, if they're not in that 1% status, they don't care about all that. They don't care about your kids. They don't care about my kids. They don't care about the kids. If we're not in that 1%, then they don't care about it.
This is the crazy thing is, though, there's very few people that are in the category that will make you safe from what they're planning. I don't care how many millions you have. if you don't have that B behind them dollar signs, if you're not up there with them billions, your millions make you just as expendable as me.
Yeah.
In the thousands.
And they'll
And
take that.
You don't get that, and then you're not taking in consideration of your loved ones that don't have what you have. And I get it. We live in a selfish society, man. It just makes me cringe every day to think about how selfish we are in today's society. And just like I was saying about these different places, you got places like Blackdom, New Mexico. That was the first black city in New Mexico, and they struck oil, and it was Blackdom Oil. There was more of natural disaster. A drought came through there, forced all of the people out, and the city became desolate. But there was thriving black communities throughout the country. And people think that when we talk about what we've established here in the U.S., this ain't just the U.S. Why do you think Europeans don't like us? We were there first. Everything that they have was established on the backs of black people in Europe.
Right.
So this isn't just a U.S. thing. This is a world thing. And they're really scared of us understanding and learning about our history, because it is natural. Our history is our superpower. Our history is our superpower, and we've got to get out of this bubble of our comfort zone of thinking that this is just local. This is just U.S. No, this is the world. Why do you think so many black leaders are taking up arms trying to educate people now, especially educate blacks about who you are and what authority you have? The black leader in Africa, he's had 20 his life, he's been 20 attempts on assassination on his life. This man is now making education grades 1 through college, making education free. Just think about that, bro. Yeah. Like, when you think about these historically world leaders that were killed because they were a threat to the U.S., Omar Gaddafi. Omar Gaddafi he made his whole country self-reliant. They got stipends every month. There was no homelessness. They didn't pay for medical. They didn't pay for education. And that was a threat to our government, because once again, if we figure out how to become self-reliant and we don't need our government, that is a problem for them.
And you gotta look at it, because right now we don't need our government. If we were to come together and do it, we don't need our government.
We really don't, man, because when you think about it, everything we enjoy, every invention, everything you enjoy, from the street lights, stop signs, AC, X-rays, housewares, vehicles, planes, that's all us.
Tell me this: why do we even have a government, a White House? Why do we even have one?
Because that was a point of contact where it's, when you talk about faith and beliefs, the thing is, it's hard for people to have faith in something they can't see. And so what they have done over the years is they built idol gods. And what I mean by idol gods is statues. The White House is a symbol of, all the White House is a slave ranch house.
Yeah.
And so who lives in a slave ranch house?
Master.
slave masters. And that's all the White House is a home for slave masters. We've been fortunate enough to have a couple of us in there, but we still, all that makes you is a house nigga.
Right, I was gonna say that house boy.
Really and truly, and I'm sorry for being so blunt about it, but that's really what it is when you really think about it. And we have this image because we've been programmed to think things are a certain way, and how and that is the problem, because a lot of us are reprogramming ourselves.
It goes back to the rewritten of history.
Yeah.
See?
They rewrote our history, and we're going through a period now where we're starting to understand our history. And that scares them.
Oh yeah.
Because they know we have the authority. I heard Minister Farrakhan saying the other day, it's like, you trying to wipe out our history. We have 400,000 black men and women fighting in the military. If them 400,000 decided they wasn't gonna fight your wars no more, and they gonna come home and fight the war that they need to fight, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem.
Most definitely, it will be.
Because you got to understand, that's 400,000. But just look at who might join our fight, who believes in our fight. We may take another 200,000 with us, and they'll stand with us. We're entering a dangerous time in our history, man, and I hope that we have the moxie to stand for what's right. I always say that this life that I live is not about me. That would be the one reason I would be willing to take up arms again, to fight this fight.
You know,
would not have a problem with it.
You know, I was looking at the whole thing when they took out Black Lives Matter out of Washington. You know how they had it on the street. And so once Trump got in office, it was removed.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like,
that was the first domino.
Yeah.
That was the first domino. We need to be aware. We need to be aware of their movements, because as calculated as it is, it's bold. It ain't behind the scenes no more.
No, it's not. It is definitely
It's
not.
in your face.
Yep.
And they're basically saying to us, what are you going to do about it?
Well, you got to look at it. I mean, if they're going against the courts, if they're going against the Supreme Court and stuff, and so basically they're saying, well, we don't care about all that, you know. So who are you? So who are you to trying to come and say something about it or get in our way?
We have to hit them where it hurts, and where it hurts is in their pocket. We are probably the largest buyer of goods when it comes to a particular group of people. And if we made up our mind that we are only going to buy from the black community, we're no longer going to buy your products. That would cripple them.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what their goal is. They want us to become as dependent on them as we possibly can. Because dependent is just really another word for control.
And that goes back to the whole scenario of not your literal slavery, but your different type of slavery.
Yeah, it's still slavery. I don't care how you twist it. I don't care how you turn it. We still live in a society where we are enslaved. And for people that think that slavery doesn't exist, it's a thing of the past, you'll probably be one of the first ones.
You know, years ago, before his passing, rest in peace, Paul Mooney, I was talking with him, and he actually educated me on Arizona when it came to racism. You know, I was like dumbfounded because the stuff that he was telling me is like I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You know, because the
Paul
thing.
Mooney was so smart.
Oh my gosh.
So smart and educated, and
Yeah.
he was funny, but there was so much seriousness and so much truth, even in his jokes.
Yeah. He was like he mainly he mainly was talking about like Scottsdale area before it became like Scottsdale. But yeah, he was talking about that area, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He said, "Yeah, you definitely didn't want to go over there."
Yeah.
You know, but
And it's still like that in Scottsdale. I never have been really a fan. There were some clubs back in the day I used to like to go to in Scottsdale. Axis Radius, Sway, different clubs, but there's always been a lot of racism in Scottsdale.
yeah,
It still is. They have bars there where you can basically come in there naked, but you can't wear Jordans.
what? Wow.
And if you don't know who that's geared toward, you're living in the dark.
So basically, they don't want no urban.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And their excuse, what I heard them say was, we don't want you wearing Jordans in there because if someone steps on them, that's how fights start.
No, fight starts. So if you
Bro, when I heard that,
dude,
I couldn't do nothing but laugh.
if you step on my Stacey Adams, and the fight is not supposed to start, come on, man.
I'm sure people that wear Jordans out and about, they know that there's a great chance that your Jordans could get stepped on.
Right, exactly.
And I'm sure I have rarely in my life seen, I don't think I've ever heard of a fight starting strictly because someone stepped on someone's shoes.
Yeah.
It could have been somebody stepped on your shoes and it was kind of obvious, and they, kind of was like, yeah, I stepped on your shoes. What you gonna do? And that probably escalated from there. But just to innocently step on someone's shoes,
Yeah.
I've never. It's always more than that. It's never about you stepped on my shoes, so now we got to get out. No, it ain't.
Yeah.
But those are the type of things that they tell us to control us. Now, when I hear people that look like me want to go to Scottsdale, I tell them, look, put on your tight stuff. Don't have nothing sagging. Don't wear no J's. Put on some Vans or something they wear when you go there. And after me telling you the dress code and what you can't wear, if you still decide to go there, then hey, it is what it is. Because the thing about it is, they will give us all the restrictions in the world because because black people need to be so validated by people that don't look like us. They know we'll come anyway.
Just to be a part of the whole surroundings.
Just to be a part of it. Just to say I was there.
So for that one, and it goes back to why don't we have an establishment in the same or better caliber than that?
Because black people aren't smart enough or willing enough to want to invest in its own people. We feel like the only way that we can reap the benefits of the things that we have garnered and we've gained is if we have the validation of people that don't look like us. We would rather have the validation of people that don't look like us and then compare ourselves to people that look like us just to say we're better than you.
But then, and what comes to me is morally support, as we don't support as much as we support others.
And you know what's sad, man, is that there's a statistic floating out there that says the majority of PhDs and master's degrees are held by black women.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We're not dumb.
Mm-mm. No.
Black men hold a large portion of that as well. If we decided we wanted to create a Seneca Village, Black Wall Street, Greenwood, Glenorian, Rosewood, Oscarville, Freedman's Village. These people did this with a little of nothing, and didn't ask white people for one thing. There is land here in Arizona now that we can purchase and put schools and hospitals and grocery stores and have our own.
And you know, and what you speaking of that, it brought me to on my way here. I was actually like, man, if I had that kind of money and everything, I was just like, I literally was like, man, I will buy up a whole lot of this land and build houses, apartments, schools, store. I was thinking that on my way here. I was like, man.
Look, man, I think we're all going through some tough times now, and include myself. And one of the things that I'm in the process now of moving out of my home, and I'm looking at apartments, and I'm like, man. And as I'm looking at these prices, $1,800 for a 2-bedroom, $1,900, $2,000 for a 2-bedroom, and I'm just thinking like, man, what if the black community owned condos like this, and now I'm paying this $1,800 to somebody that looks like me, and how we start recycling that dollar in the black community. Like, why can't we do that? We have the means to do it. Yeah. I know a couple black billionaires. I know people that got millions. And I don't understand why we refuse. I mean, I get it. I don't understand it, why we refuse to invest in ourselves, but it is what it is. And I think that's ultimately going to be our downfall, is that white people know as long as we have to depend on them, they know they control it. They know they can control us.
Because you gotta look at it. What else is a control? A control that that they have on us, on everyone, is property tax. Because why? You go move in your house. This is supposed to be your house, okay? And you bought it flat out from a whatever. You bought it, and this is supposed to be your house. You got the deed. This is your house, but it's not your house.
You will never own your home.
Right? Because why? Because they just like, well, I got the deed here. It's in my name. It's my house. Yeah, but then at the same time, unless you missed about 3 or 4 payments on that property tax, I guarantee you it's not your house no more.
It will never be your home unless you buy the land that it's on, and have your home built.
Right. Right.
That is really the only true ownership. Because if you're not paying proper taxes, you're paying some kind of tax on it. You're paying HOA, typically in the communities.
Right.
You'll forever be paying for this house.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense for us to get out and buy land before we buy a home. Buy the land and then build your house on it. I was in the mortgage industry for over 20 years. And it's disgusting to me what the industry is and what it's about and how it was formulated. The worst thing they could have did for me is allow me to travel and see the world. When I got out and I was allowed to see the world, not really allowed, but when I saw the world and saw that somewhere like Thailand, which is considered a third world country, and when I look at their infrastructure and what they're able to do, they have modern hospitals. They have just their whole infrastructure is cool. bro, you can literally injure yourself, go to the hospital, stay overnight, have your own private room in a modern hospital for $200 a night.
Wow. Okay.
Like,
They need to bring
it just doesn't, you will never be able to convince me that we have to live how we live.
Well, no. I mean, we don't have to live this way. It's just that it goes back to the government wants us to live this way because the only way they're going to make a whole lot more money in their billfold is for us to live this way.
All this is, bro, is like slavery. We were everything we got during slavery back in the day, we worked for. Our food, our clothes. We even paid for where we lived, and there might have been a bunch of us living in a small confined space. That's still true. We're paying to be alive.
You know, my great grandfather, back in that day, he owned the electric rights. So people were coming to him to buy electric. Okay. And so and pretty much what he was doing, like once he went on, it went down to his child, right? So they were taking over it and all that stuff. And then once they had got involved, like the white man got involved in it and stuff, and they just pretty much took it from him.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm like, dude, it's I know it's not a new thing, but at the same time, I'm like, I was telling my mom, I was like, look, I'm like, how are you just gonna let these people take something from you? Just don't let people take something from you. You know, I'm like, man. But he said, but you like back in that day, you didn't really have a choice.
No, you didn't, because they controlled everything, and you understand what was at risk. Your freedom was at risk. Your life was at risk.
Yeah.
And most people have family.
Yeah.
And whether we might not have valued our own life, we value the life of our loved ones.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you bucked against the system back then. It wasn't just you that paid for it. Your whole neighborhood might pay for it.
Wow.
And that's the reason why a lot of these that's on this list, these thriving black communities, that's what happened. A lot of it was false allegations of black people doing something to white people that gave them excuse to wipe out whole communities. A lot of this was just one person that caused a whole community to be wiped out. So they had to think about stuff like that back then. And as much as you wanted to buck the system, you had to think like, my whole family, my whole community could be wiped out. It's different now.
Yeah.
It's different now. You come in now trying to wipe out a whole black community. You're gonna have a problem on your hands.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have a problem on it.
Man.
That's why every city, every community likes to keep us in an area, in a certain area, because it's easier to control us. Because if somebody in that area get out of line, we ain't gotta just go in and grab them. We could just destroy the whole area.
South Phoenix and West Phoenix.
Yeah. But they got some of us that ain't wired too tight that live out here in Gilbert.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Right?
They got some of us that ain't wired too tight that live in Scottsdale.
Oh,
North, Central, Scottsdale.
Happy Valley. Yeah. Yeah.
So and that's that's why times are different now, man, and we need to understand the times that we living in is like, yeah, we're still living in slavery, but we're not living in slavery times where they can control us like they can, and that's their fear now.
Yeah,
Because
because
they know we're educated, they know we got money, they know
Right.
we have means. Y'all ain't the only one with guns now.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, we have the ability to get things done.
Yes,
So,
and that is a threat to their future plans for us. And like I said, we just need to continue to be diligent, man. We need to, and that's why I'm so happy about our platform that we have here at Shoes Off Talk, at T-Flight Studios as well, is because we have the ability to put people in front of this camera that's gonna make some noise,
right.
that's gonna tell some truths,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how rough, rugged, and raw it is.
Unfiltered.
Unfiltered. We have the ability to put people in front of this camera that can really effectively bring about some change.
Yeah.
And plant some seeds. And so that's why this is so important to me, and I know it's important to you, that we keep this thing going by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And so I reach out and I plead to our listeners, become actively involved with us.
Mm-hmm.
You got something you want to talk about? Get with us.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that pertains to the Black community.
Yeah.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my guy Mike Bibby. He is now the head coach of Sacramento State. And man, they are tooling up. When I say tooling up, I am watching the kids that he's bringing in. And shout out to Shaquille O'Neal, who is now, I ain't even know that this was a position.
Right?
Shaq is the general manager at Sacramento State. I
Right.
didn't even, there's general managers in college. I think Shaq just like,
I thought it was
I'm
a
not gonna
director or
be-
something.
well, it's an AD.
Yeah.
It's an AD. I don't know if Shaq is the AD or if he created a whole created a position for himself. But once again, man, that's
Hey.
Black people moving
Mm-hmm.
like we're supposed to be moving.
Yeah.
You want to give these kids opportunities. You don't want them to have to depend on white people for their future. Start controlling their movement more.
Yeah.
And this is the way you do it. You become active in the areas that progress them.
You know, I really enjoyed was it last week when we talked to Mr. Beard and how he was talking about the history of the basketball and how that got started when it came to the kids, you know, and how they moved forward because they gave them hope. They gave them the insight of, yeah, you can be more than what you are now.
Yeah.
You know, so
Because what I like about us being in positions to push progress in the way of our kids is because we don't look at them as a number. We don't look at them as a dollar sign.
mm-hmm.
So I know Mike Bibby. I know his staff is going to properly prepare these kids for the next step, which is either playing overseas or playing in the NBA. These kids have been in systems that don't really care about them other than wins and losses. And these kids need directions. They have the talent, but they need direction.
Right.
So I know Mike is going to talk to them about financial literacy. I know Mike is going to talk to them about how to be productive in society away from basketball. Mike is going to talk to them about being a man. And it's not because he was perfect at doing any of that, but because he realized his imperfections and understand that I am in a position now to where I can take the things that I've done wrong and teach these kids how to do them right.
Right. Exactly.
That's how we have to look at Black leadership. You don't need to be in Black leadership because you've done everything the right way. Sometimes the person that has done it the worst is the best man for the job.
Because he's gonna show you how to do it the right way.
He's made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
He's made all the mistakes.
the right positive way.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
put that in there. Positive way.
And Mike is a great dude, man. Me and Mike's story goes back so far is when I had came out here, I first came to Sierra Vista
Okay.
in early '94. Just trying to find direction. My dad was stationed at Fort Huachuca in Sierra Vista, and so me and my family, I was married at the time. We lived with them for a while because I just found it rough. Like I was going through a lot of mental stuff because we had just came back from the Gulf. I just got out of the military, so my transition into civilian life wasn't a smooth one. It was really rough, and so I was blessed to have God-fearing parents to where they told me, hey, you and your family come out here. Come out here and get yourself started. So I came out. One thing led to another. Marriage didn't work out. She moved back to Texas. I ventured up to Tucson, spent some time in Tucson. Had signed a contract to actually go back and play professional basketball because I played professionally when I was in the military in Puerto Rico. And the war kicked off and the war stopped that, but started back playing and training, and then I played in they had a men's like a summer pro league that they had at Pima College in Tucson. Mike Bibby, Kelvin Ifan, Jason Terry, all of them played in this league, and so that was a competition that I played against. And so one day we went up to U of A and went over to I forgot what their rec center is called, but went in there to play, and one of the guys who that year ended up being a walk-on U of A, me and him was going at it in the gym, and I was getting the best of him, and so they lost, and we beat the team right before he was coming back on, and so he was like, he's like, we on, and they was waiting on another player. They had 4, and he was like, well, we waiting on somebody to come, and in walks this kid, and they was like, Mike, we on now, and I was like, I'm killing them. That was no knee surgeries. That was drop step, dunk backwards, legs good, jumper wet, the whole 9. So I'm like, he walks in, and it wasn't too far back, but light skins wasn't like that in hoop. Like, what? Pick him up. Grab anybody you want. I didn't know who it was. Grab anybody you want. Man, it only took 2 trips up and down the court for me to realize who that was. I'm like, man, that kid. I knew when I saw him play 2 or 3 trips up and down the court, I knew like what his future was. I'm like, this kid is on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
He literally could have went from high school to the pros. He was that good.
Okay.
And he proved it his freshman year at U of A when they won the national championship. Him, Miles Simon, all of them guys. But and then moving up here and then getting to run into him and playing and be in the different circles, and then as he got older, having an opportunity because we kind of had some people in common to meet him and have a conversation, and then over the last maybe I say 3 or 4 years, we really have gotten to talk more and more and more. And so learning who he is, man, I'm proud of him. I think his impact on the school is going to be tremendous for years to come.
Okay.
And bro, I actually plan on making a trip out to Sacramento for some of them games. Because like I said, I'm looking at some of the kids that he's picking up. Yeah, they gonna be a problem. Whatever division they gonna be a problem. But today's show hopefully was both enlightening. Hopefully it touched a nerve. hopefully it sparked interest in other ethnicities to actively get involved in what's going on with the wiping out of Black history. But we have a responsibility. Those of us that have a platform and have a voice, we have a responsibility. I don't care what they try to take from us, how they try to hush us. We have a responsibility to use our voices to be loud and proud about who we are and where we came from.
Right.
Because if we don't let our kids know where they came from and give them the proper tools, they have no idea where they're going. And
Exactly.
so
That's exactly.
I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully we said something that kind of lit a fire under you to actively get involved in what's going on. Like I said, hit us up, message us if you have anything you want to talk about, whether it's a past show, a future show, or if you just want to create your own podcast, we'll help you with that. Like I said, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We don't take your time for granted, so we appreciate any second or minute that you give us, knowing that you could have been somewhere else. And how we end all shows:
Love, peace, and soul.
Take your shoes off at the door, yeah, we getting real. Talking all the things they say you shouldn't feel. The locker room, choose to capitalize. That you secret to the question, who's this guy? Shoes off, please in, take a breath, take a seat. Where the truth walks free and the romance meets. No filters, no front, just the heart of the talk. Welcome to the place where the brave ones walk. Religion and redemption, business and hustle. Life hits hard, we unpack the struggle. Mental health, money, trauma, and dreams. Peel back layers to the silent scream. Politics in the air, sports in the veins. Educated minds, talking love and pain. No cap, no script, just truth with spark. It's the shoes off talk, where we leave that mark. Shoes off, lean in, take a breath.
Shoes Off Talk. Subscribe.